Do you know what I hate about the current education system? How they literally don't teach you how to save money, how to manage money, and how to invest money. So today, my fellow freedom fighters, that is exactly what we're gonna go over. Now, everything that I'm going to teach you today, I learned from a guy named T. Harv Eker. And what it actually entails is you paying yourself a salary either from your business or your job and dividing it into 5 different buckets. And in doing so, that is actually how you can put yourself in the same process as every single person out there that is wealthy in managing their wealth and managing their finances. So exactly what I do with all my various businesses is I don't take everything that I make, right? I pay myself a salary, literally the bare minimum that I need to survive. Not what I need for bottle service in Vegas, not what I need to buy those new pair of Nikes. Literally, I pay myself the bare minimum of what a 23-and-a-half-year-old person would need. And it's really not that much. And from that salary, I divide it into 5 different buckets. The first bucket is the necessities bucket, where basically 55% of the salary that I pay myself just goes to things like rent, to food, basically what I need to just survive. And that's exactly what you should do as well. Whatever money that you have come in, if it's from your job or if it's from a business, make sure that 55% just goes and pays the necessities. Now, the problem with most people is they want to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. So you see people buying cars they don't need, they buy luxurious apartments that they don't need, and at the end of the day, they end up spending more than they should. And that's the problem with most people. So what I recommend you guys do, freedom fighters, is just find a way to decrease your cost of living and make sure that 55% of what is coming in just goes to the things that you just need to survive. And how you do that, if you're spending way too much, is you can do one of 3 things. Number 1, you could either decrease your cost of living so that 55% of your income actually pays the necessities. And if that's not an option and you like living lavish, then the second thing you could do is create an online business. You know, there's so many things you could do online, from blogging to e-commerce to Shopify. Literally links in the description below in the financial freedom resources if you want more information about that. And the third thing you could do is what I did, is not only did I do the first one by decreasing my cost of living and creating online businesses, various ones that actually pay me, and that's how I make my living online. The third thing I did is I relocated to a country where the dollar is a lot stronger. Now, I learned this from the 4-Hour Workweek right here. It is called geo arbitrage, and what it is you earn in dollars or euros or pounds and you spend in pesos and baht. Now, when you do that, you have the ability to make your dollar go a lot further. For example, an apartment in San Francisco or New York that would normally cost $3,000 a month to live in would only cost around $200 to $300 a month in a similar type of setting here in Thailand or in Colombia or in Berlin. And that is exactly what I did. You know, at first I used to live in Chicago, but the cost of living was way too expensive. So what I did is I relocated my ass to Chiang Mai, Thailand, where there's a huge digital nomad scene and people working for them on their laptops. It's really awesome meeting like-minded individuals. But not only do I surround myself around a community of people that believe in the same things that I do, that value freedom as much as I do, I also put myself in a situation where I could save a lot more so that I could invest in my future. And if you guys have an online business, or if you guys have an ability to make money online, then I would recommend you do the same, especially if you're young, man. There is no risk whatsoever, and if anything, it's just an amazing adventure that you could live and that you could experience and that you could tell stories about when you're older. Now, the second bucket that I put some of my income in is 10% of my income goes into long-term savings. So the salary that I pay myself, I make sure that in my bank account, I have it automatically set up so I don't have to be tempted on spending that money, where 10% of the income that I make from the salary that I pay myself goes immediately into my savings. Now, you're probably wondering, why would I do such a thing? Well, did you know that most families don't have $1,000 in their savings? Listen, I'm a 23-and-a-half-year-old person, right? I don't have a family, I don't have kids that I know of, and I don't really have that much responsibilities. But what blows my mind is there's literally families and parents with they don't even have $1,000 in their savings account. So you really gotta ask yourself, what happens if they lose their job? What happens if they get into an accident? How can they really fund it? That is the reason why so many people go into debt, is because they're not preparing for a really crappy situation. education. So that bucket where I put 10% of my monthly income into for that long-term savings is literally the worst case scenario fund if I go homeless, if the Illuminati take over, or if just something stupid happens in my life, or if I get injured, where I'm literally just sitting on a pile of cash where I could easily spend it and I don't have to literally take a loan to pay for any of the debt or any of the bills that I have to pay. And this is what most financial gurus will tell you. You know, Tony Robbins in Money Master the Game right here, will tell you that you really want to have around 6 to 9 months worth of expenses saved up in your savings, so that the worst case scenario, if you lose a job, if a business doesn't go the way you think, or if you want to just be able to focus on your business and not worrying about having a job, literally have 6 to 9 months in your savings account, and you can live off of that while you build your online business. Now, the third bucket that I have for the salary that I pay myself is I make sure that 10% of that goes into playing. Yes, that's right, you heard it, playing. Now, this is the problem with how most people teach you how to save money. They say, oh, save every single dollar that you make, and when you're 65, that is when you could enjoy your life. Screw that. For me, I don't really believe in just waiting my entire life and trading it all away just so that I could enjoy sitting on some boat in Florida, enjoying like a cold beer. As amazing as that sounds, I want to enjoy my life now. So that is why I make sure that 10% of the money that comes in, make sure that it goes into things of playing, things that I love enjoying, things that I'm passionate about, things that I could experience. Because that is what makes this entire process of saving money, of managing money, and investing money a lot more enjoyable. Because guys, all money is a vehicle. It's a vehicle for you to enjoy it. It's a vehicle for you to experience all that you've always wanted to experience. But so many people are burdened in thinking that they are not allowed to spend it. You can spend it, just not all of it. I don't spend every single dollar that I make online. I literally just spend 10% of the salary that I pay myself, the minimum amount of salary that I need to survive, and that's exactly what you should do too. So every single month when I pay myself a paycheck, 10% of that goes into things like traveling, 10% of that goes into experiences like, you know, climbing waterfalls, hanging out with monkeys, or swimming with whale sharks. And whenever that fund gets to the point where I could spend it, I freaking spend it. There's no hesitation, there's no questions asked. The problem with most people is they think their entire fund or their entire salary should go into play. They literally waste it on the weekend. They earn every single day, and every single 2 weeks they lose it all because they think that 100% of that is to blow on fancy steak dinners or just the clubs. But what you need to do instead is just have 10% of that salary put into things that you love doing. And that is what's going to make this entire process so much more enjoyable. Now, the fourth bucket that I put 10% of my income in is education. And I don't mean going back to college, I mean self-education, because where regular education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. Meaning every single month when I pay myself a salary, I make sure that at least 10% of that goes into growing my mind, and is how I grow my mind with these various books and audiobooks that really gives me the business ideas that I have. People always ask me like, Mike, how did you learn the things that you know? Well, that is because I committed to making sure that 10% of my income, 10% of my salary goes into education. I read books, I listen to audiobooks. I have an Audible account where every single month I get 2 new audiobooks that I can listen to while I walk. And whenever that education fund gets way more than I could possibly spend on books or audiobooks, guess what I do next, guys? I invest in courses. I go to live seminars. I invest that in things like one-on-one coaching. I have spent as much as $5,000 for just a one-on-one coaching for just 3 weeks for someone in a leading skill that I want to learn. And I definitely recommend it for you as well. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on seminars or one-on-one coaching. You can literally start with books, with audiobooks. Some of the ones I recommend, of course, are The Lazy Man's Guide to Living a Good Life by yours truly, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 4-Hour Workweek, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Think and Grow Rich. Now, those are really all you need to start developing this entrepreneur mindset, because at the end of the day, you don't get out of life what you want, you get out of life who you are. And the only way you could earn more is if you become more. And for you to become more, you need to start studying from the people that have what you want. So don't be afraid to spend 10% of that salary into your books, into your education. And if you really think about it, it's not that much. If you think about it, most people are willing to spend $20 on a freaking freaking haircut. Heck, my mom sometimes spends $50 to $60 on a haircut where she takes just like a little bit off. I will never understand it. I mean, women that follow me will be like, no, it's definitely a good investment. And of course, you know, it makes you guys look very beautiful. But what blows my mind is people are willing to spend $20 outside of their head, but they're not willing to spend $10 on a good book inside their head. And that is the reason why most people are living a life that they do not want, is because they're living a life that was created for them instead of them creating the life for themselves. So more of the story, 10% of your paycheck should go into education. Now the fifth bucket that I put 5% of the salary that I pay myself is what is known as the giving bucket. And before you really, you know, just expel this, let me just tell you a story. When I first got into business, one of my first e-commerce stores did really well. It was hitting the certain revenue every single month, and every single month, even though it was remaining consistent, I didn't feel significant. And I don't know if it was something attached to my ego where I wanted to have the highest revenue amongst all my other e-commerce friends, but there was a moment in my life where even though I was making more than most people make in their jobs, I wasn't happy with myself. And if you ask anyone that ties their self-identity or their ego to the amount of money that they have coming in, you'll see that they make a lot of money and they should have so many reasons to feel blessed, to feel grateful, but yet they are very unhappy. And the reason because of this is with entrepreneurs, this is what everyone is guilty for, is we set a goal, a revenue goal, and then we hit that revenue goal. We feel happiness for 5 seconds, and then the happiness literally leaves, and then all you do is you set another goal, and then you literally hit it, you feel happy for like 5 seconds, and you repeat that until you die. That entire time of you hitting your goals and accomplishing it, you know, you never really feel that feeling of accomplishment, of happiness, or you never really feel that amount of fulfillment. It's because you are too busy focusing on achievement as opposed to fulfillment. And success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I didn't really understand this until I put myself in a position of giving. I remember I was in Vegas. I ended up living there for like a month just to like have fun, because why not? And I get a call from my cousin. My cousin was like saying, do you want to go to Machu Picchu? I'm going there. We could take some really cool pictures. And if you want to see the pictures right here, boop. So that's what I wanted. I was like, oh my God, I want to go to Machu Picchu, experiences, that's amazing. So what I did is I dropped $2,000 to get my ass from Vegas back to Chicago so that I could go and be in Machu Picchu for a week so I could take as much Instagram pictures as I want. Now what my cousin failed to tell me is the Machu Picchu thing was only going to be one day. What's going to happen for a week in advance before we actually go and take those pictures on an amazing Machu Picchu, like wonder of the world, was that I was going to help rebuild the school. More specifically, I was the one in charge of digging an entire field and overturning the soil so that we could create a garden from that soil for that school. We didn't have shovels. I didn't have like the power tools. What they literally gave me was a pickaxe, something that is so inefficient for digging up a hole, much less overturning the soil of an entire field. But for the next several days, you know, I took that axe and I just like bashed in the earth every single day. I was sweating, my palms were literally calloused, and my neck was burned from the hot sun. And the entire time I was complaining. I was complaining on there was no Wi-Fi. I was complaining on it was too hot. And I was complaining on the fact that I couldn't really check my Facebook stats, and I couldn't check in on my team and seeing if they were doing what it is I told them to do while I was gone. And the entire time where I should have felt, you know, grateful and giving back to people that were less fortunate than me, I literally was just a dummy and an asshole and a douchebag for not really appreciating all the things that I had. And it wasn't until the end of the day, on the last day, where my entire paradigm shift. On the last day, while I was done overturning this entire plot of land with nothing but a little dainty pickaxe, I hear this loud boom, and it was from music, it was from a boombox, and all of a sudden I just see a sea of children coming at us, literally attacking us. They were hugging us, they were kissing us, and they took us to the playfield in the center of the courtyard of the school. And it was in this moment that I realized just who I was building this garden for, who I was helping rebuild this school for. I didn't realize this at the time, but as I looked at these kids smiling and just filled with gratitude and so thankful on how these strangers from America were willing to leave everything they were doing for a week to go over to their school, to go over to their village to help rebuild their school, I noticed that, you know, they had several handicaps. Some had Down syndrome, others were blind, some were deaf. But the biggest takeaway that I could take from these children were the fact that even though they had less than me, they were far more happier than me. And I didn't learn that lesson when I was just too focused on the money, when I tied my identity and my need for significance from my monthly income. I realized that these kids were literally the secret to life, that even though you're not where you want to be, you're not where you used to be, and there are people out there that would kill to be in your spot, guys. A lot of you guys, you don't feel accomplished because you don't have that specific goal that you want. But if you can really think back and think about things that you could truly be grateful for, can you? And it is that moment when you cultivate that feeling of gratitude and that feeling of contribution. Can you really put yourself in an emotional state to keep on going and keep on progressing in your financial goals? And that is what these kids taught me. They gave me a perspective in life that I was too blind to see beforehand. And that is what you guys need to do as well. So 5% of the income coming in, make sure that you find a way to use it to give back to other people. Give back to people that are less fortunate than you. Some of the reasons why I create these YouTube videos is not only does it help me like increase another revenue stream from like the YouTube ads, from like affiliate sales, from products that I sell on the back end and book sales. The reason why I focus so much on this YouTube channel and putting everything that I can, making sure that I give it not only the most detail on what you need to do, but helping you get into that emotional state that you need to take action, is because of the feeling that I personally get to start focusing on my own business because of the amount of value that I feel like I'm giving into your life. Man, I read every single comment that every single one of you guys post, and I want to say thank you so much, because you guys give me the perspective that I need to always reflect on the things that I'm doing so that I can personally get onto the next level. So I want to thank you guys so much. And the question for today that you could comment below, no matter how far you are or how far you are not in your financial journey, what is one thing that you could be grateful for? Put it in the comments below. I personally think it would be cool to see what everyone else is grateful for, and it'd also be cool to see everyone else's comments to see really the fact that there is so much for you to be grateful for, and the fact that you have the ability to create wealth, create freedom for yourself, as long as you just apply and as long as you inspire yourself to take action. So hopefully that helps, guys. And if you guys love this, make sure you subscribe and hit on the notification bell so you get notified of new videos when I release them. And for everyone else, I will see you guys at my blog. See you later, guys.